Hi friends, it's Terry Stewart, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Welcome to the 2022 World Card Making online retreat. So whether you watched us live and are just going back to see how things you might have missed, or you're joining me on replay later this in the year, welcome. So I'm really excited to share my Avid card that I've made with the Leaves of Holly bundle. So let's get to the stamping fun. So this is the bundle that I'm featuring for my Avid card. It's a Leaves of Holly bundle, which comes with these holly leaves, images, some fabulous greetings. You got Christmas wishes, season's greetings, joy, peace with this and sign. You have a 2-layer stamping where you can do a more solid image of a holly leaf and then put on a top cover so to give it some depth. So you could use these together, 2-step stamping, or separately, and you'd have 4 holly leaves. And then the berries, you have some solid berries and again some highlighted berries. And then the dies, the coordinating dies, you have the same where you have you have 2 solid holly leaves, one a little bit larger than the other, and then the detailed image that goes on top. You have this lovely label image with 2 holly leaves. You have that also have some cutout areas, and you can put a solid piece behind it to give some depth. Holly berries, you have solid and the highlighted areas. Another label, 2 little sprigs. So this die set has a lot going on. So let me show you the card that I made. So here's my card. It has some beautiful details, lots of embellishments. I've used the Boughs of Holly DSP, some glimmer paper, the die cut where I layered this holly leaf, the berries where I did a layer on them. I used one of the label dies, then I've added some beautiful vanilla and gold ribbon, these really sweet holly leaves, gold, they came back from the catalog last year, and then a few red rhinestones. Gorgeous, gorgeous colors. And then of course the inside. So here are the pieces that I'll be using in this project. Now if you're part of the World Card Making Day, you would have gotten a list of measurements and ingredients that I've used for this project. If you're joining me following after World Card Making Day, you can check out my blog, and I'll have all the details there for measurements. If you're watching on replay, check below in the description below for a link to that blog post following World Card Making Day. So here is my card base, a piece of mossy meadow. So it's a half a cardstock, cut in half and scored in half. A piece of very vanilla, that's a 1/4 sheet, 1 layer, so it's a little bit smaller than a 1/4 sheet. A piece of the Boughs of Holly DSP, and that's the same size, 4 by 5 1/4, or for my metric friends that would be 10 by 14.4 centimeters. And then I have a piece of that lovely glimmer paper. Can you see the sparkle in that? It's fabulous. Now I am going to be die cutting this, so this is a scrap, and I believe I cut this at 3.5 inches, 3 3/4 inches. So it's probably about 10.5 centimeters or something, just enough for the die. Actually, there are 2 dies. I'll talk about that in a moment. And then I have some scraps, and you can see these are literally just scraps. So a scrap of mossy meadow for the accent on my holly leaf, a scrap of soft seafoam, which is going to be the base, the solid die cut, and then I have real red, which are going to be my holly berries, a solid die cut, poppy parade, which will lay on top to give an accent, and then a piece of very vanilla, which will be for my frame. So a lot of the dies I'll be using mostly from the holly berry dies, and I'm using the small holly leaf, the solid one, the smaller detailed holly leaf, the detailed berries, the solid berries, and the label. Now you can see I've cut some extras when I have made some other projects, and I just store them in with my dies, and we'll use them on other projects. So this will go to the die cutting machine, and I'll cut all these out. The die cut and emboss machine to cut these out. I'll use the soft sea foam for my base holly leaf, and then the mossy meadow for my detailed die cut. Now for this piece, I am using my stitched rectangle framelit dies. I'm using the 2nd and the 4th one, and this piece I've already cut out on my die cutting machine, and I used a post-it note. So I wanted the even border. I ran this through one time using like I said, the 2nd and the 4th die, the largest dies. I secured them in place with a post-it note and ran them through on my die cut and emboss machine. And now I'm going to go and do the rest of the die cutting on my die cut and emboss machine, and I'll be right back. So I'm back from my die cut and emboss machine, and there are our die cuts. And this one was already done as I showed you, so I'm going to take off the post-it note and show how I created a frame for this card. Isn't that sparkly, so gorgeous? And so the larger die will come off, the smaller die comes out, and that gives us our frame. And then this piece I intend to use on another project. Gorgeous, don't you love that sparkle? I do. So there's very little stamping on this card, but we're going to do that first, and then we're going to assemble. So I will stamp on my insert, and I will stamp on my label, and then the rest of these we will just set aside for the moment. So I'm using Mossy Meadow, and that coordinates with both the DSP and the die cut. So to friends near and far, Mossy Meadow, and these are photopolymer, so I will be able to look right through and stamp. Now I'm going to stamp more to the right side, so I have room to put my holly leaf on the left. And then I'll just center it. This might be a little high, but I think it's going to work. Oh, I think I'm going to leave it that way. Even though I would have preferred it a little further down, it still works. So the holly leaf that I'm using is this more open, smaller image. And then I am also going to stamp the holly berries. So ink up in Mossy Meadow, put my holly leaf kind of down towards the bottom. I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper because I do want to stamp off on my holly berries. So I'll be using real red. Now on my sample, I stamped red full strength and then came back and stamped the highlight in red, and they kind of blended together. So on this one, I'm going to stamp ink up my holly berries and stamp off so that there'll be more of a contrast. I'll put those holly berries up here. And I'll come in with the highlighted area, ink that up, and then because I can look through, I'll be able to line these up. It's kind of hard when I don't have my head right directly over. So you can see that it gives it a little bit more definition. So I think that's a better way to do this two-step stamping. And then for the final bit of stamping, I'm taking a color that's also in the DSP pack, Evening Evergreen, and I'm going to put a greeting on the inside, Christmas wishes. And this just is Evening Evergreen is a darker color, and I felt that it gave some contrast with the Mossy Meadow. And that's all the stamping we'll do on this project. So now we can start assembling. So I'm going to take my card base and fold it on that score line and then burnish that score line. Since my insert is complete, I'm going to secure that with some liquid glue inside. So while this card has a lot of embellishments, it really doesn't take that long to create. And now for our front, this beautiful Boughs of Holly DSP. It's gorgeous, and if you stick around, I'll be showing you all the ingredients that I use, where to find them in the mini catalog, the July to December mini catalog. And then our frame, also I'll adhere this. So I'm just putting a narrow bead of glue around the edges, and then I'm going to center this piece right, left, top, bottom. And I'm just eyeballing that. And with the liquid glue, if I'm a little off center, I can push it slightly to get it back to center. And for the rest of these, now we can assemble our layers. So this Mossy Meadow holly die cut layers right on top of our soft sea foam, and I'm going to just put some dabs of glue on these bigger pieces and a little bit on these edges to secure them. And then I can show you a little trick. If anything is hanging over or lifting up once we put it together, you can go back and add a little bit of glue with a scrap. So there the hollies together. Now I'm going to take a piece of scrap cardstock that usually have these left over when you're making card layers, and just come underneath of it and tap those little spiky pieces on that glue, and then press them down. And then usually they adhere just maybe a little bit, and there we go. Quick and easy way to put your die cuts together. And the same thing here, I'm going to put a little bit on these bigger areas on the back and just tack it down right over top of my real red cardstock. So I have the Poppy Parade on top, and real red below for the holly berries. Now for this part, for my greeting, I am going to use this vanilla and gold ribbon. Oh, it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite in the holiday catalog. And I need approximately, I think 8 inches is what I'll work with. For my metric friends, that's probably about 20 centimeters. So to hold it on the back of this label, I'm going to use my tear and tape and just put a piece right down the center, tear that off, and then with my pick a tool I can lift up that cover off the tear and tape. And I want to fold my ribbon back and forth on the back of this tag. And I want it kind of go at an angle. So, like this. And you can move it down, so I think I want more on the right hand side, so I'm going to lift this up, and even though it's tear tape, it does let you remove and play with it a little bit. So I'm going to try this again and see if I can get a better positioning of my ribbon. Oh, not better at all, right? Do that one again. There we go. I think I can live with that. Although it's backwards from my my original, so I need to start on the bottom. So start on the bottom at an angle. Angle it back and forth. Much better. And then I plan to pop this up, so I will put dimensionals behind it, and that will also help secure the ribbon. And now we can start building our card front. So my plan is to put my holly leaf there, put the berries, and then this will get tucked underneath the berries and the holly leaf. So both of these need to have dimensionals. So I'll be putting dimensionals on my holly leaf and my berries, and I'm going to put the dimensionals on the left side of my berries because placing it over my label. So put my label down, remove these covers. And this is going to go right above the frame. Leave a little bit of space and So above the frame on the bottom, and then on the right hand side, it's going to go over the frame. Next is my holly leaf. I'll remove these covers from the holly leaf. And it's going to go on the left of the label and then off to the left. And so my dimensionals are up here, and it does not go on top of the label. And then my holly berries, only one dimensional there. I left some room on the right hand side, and it's going to cover the stem. So, and then the last little embellishment are these super cute gold holly leaves, and these came back from last year and I love them. So I'm going to use a big holly leaf, and then there's a smaller holly leaf, just like the stamp set. So they're super cute, and I'm going to adhere them with a glue dot, and I'm going to put that glue dot right on my label down here in the corner with the help of my picture tool. And the little holly leaf will come this way, and then I'll put another glue dot right on top of that first one to secure the larger glue dot, like so. And the last embellishment, I know there's a lot, this one is the red rhinestones, and I wanted to add some holly berries to this gold, and I'm going to do 3, and I'm putting these right onto that gold holly embellishment. And there is my Avid card. It's got a lot of sparkle and beautiful colors, very festive. Now, I did promise that I would show where to find these in the mini catalog. So this is the July to December catalog. On page 25 is the Boughs of Holly, and this is where I got the bundle. The Leaves of Holly stamp set and the holly berry dies, and I used the Boughs of Holly DSP, and there's some gorgeous patterns. There's some florals, poinsettias, more poinsettias, more poinsettias, more florals, and then some trees and all kinds of just beautiful DSP patterns. Then on page 21, this is where you can find the gold leaves, these gold holly leaves, and they are a returning favorite. I loved them last year, and I love them again this year. You get 30 pieces, 15 of the small ones and 15 of the bigger ones. And then on page 31, you can find this glorious glimmer paper, and today I used the Very Vanilla Sparkle. And right above it is the golden vanilla satin edged ribbon. Beautiful. It's just very festive. There's my finished card. I hope you enjoyed this Avid card. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel so I can bring you even more fun stamping projects. Check out my blog, stampinghair.blogspot.com, for more information about this project. The link is in the description below. And until next time, remember, stamping is fun. Bye.